Liberty Nation with Tim Donner.
Well, the left and right coasts have been struggling mightily to contain the coronavirus, particularly California and Washington on the West Coast. And the biggest victim of the virus, New York City and state on the East Coast. But in the broad swath in between sits the Heartland, which is at once thought to be the backbone of the country and the sweep of country which was the linchpin for Trump's shocking election. They haven't been hit nearly as hard, and the perspectives, if not the regulations, are quite different from the ones you're getting from the elites who dominate, well, the elite media. No better person to offer us the Heartland perspective from what we joke about, but what the left thinks is actually flyover country, than our gal on the ground in the Heartland, LibertyNation.com national correspondent Sarah Cowgill. Welcome back to the show, young lady.
It is a pleasure to be here, Tim.
More of a pleasure to have you. So here we are 2 or 3 weeks into crisis mode. Sarah, how seriously would you say the folks around you are generally taking the warnings and regulations coming out of Washington and from their individual governors?
You know, Tim, the folks that live, between the Rockies and the Appalachians are rule followers. They will stick to the rules. They like order. They like a conservative lifestyle. If the president or their governor or their local sheriff tells them to stay home, stay put, and don't touch anybody, that's what they're going to do. But on the other hand of that, mentally and emotionally, they are not concerned. They know they don't meet as many people out here in the sticks. We don't come in contact with a lot of people. In New York, heck, you could have 1,000 people in your apartment building using the same elevator and breathing on each other's mailboxes. We don't have that here. On any given day, anybody who goes to work in a factory may see 20 or 30 people, stop at the Dollar General, see another 5 or 6 people, and go home. We just don't have that contamination of too many people.
You know, you were mentioning Dollar General, a place where many people shop, myself included, over the years. And, going into regular supermarkets now, it reminds me of going into the dollar stores where, they get stuff in, they put it on the shelf, people come in, take it out, and maybe that shelf's empty for a week or two. And that's what the regular supermarkets are like. But Sarah, the present argument on the coronavirus is the health of people versus the health of the economy. People must survive, but those people also depend on the economy for an acceptable quality of life. What's the chatter you're hearing on this matter of health versus economy? How risk averse do you sense the regular folk are?
I think that if this becomes a concluded event for the most part at the end of the month, or like in Indiana, it's until April 7th. That's the cutoff date where they're going to make evaluations and see what the spread is, etc. I think if people are ready for April 7th, they're counting down, and if that happens and it's okay, I think they will be throwing money at the economy. If it continues to go on, people are going to hole up. They're going to rat hole their money because we live in an area where the cost of living is very low, but also the wages are lower out here. And they just will not be able to weather it. The small businesses won't be able to weather much longer being on lockdown.
I want to put this next question delicately, but the people who are suffering the most from this are the people on the coasts in cities and states that are, I would say, further left than probably any states in the country, whereas the Heartland famously put Trump in office. What's the feeling about people distant from the Heartland who are suffering in this, who are on the coast in very different lives with very different beliefs?
It's a matter of conviction. And the people in the Heartland are very conservative, and they will do what they think they have to do in order to keep going, to weather the storm. How we feel about possibly the folks on the East Coast or the West Coast, most Heartlanders blame their liberal governments for the mess they're in. They don't blame blame COVID-19. They don't blame President Trump. They blame the individual governors and governments that didn't see something coming. How did they not see it coming with so many homeless people carrying random diseases we haven't seen, since the Middle Ages, and they haven't done anything about that? How are they going to contain this? How are they going to contain this contagion?
So you know what we're hearing from the media and from people all over the political spectrum, mostly from the left. Trump acted too soon, or he acted too late. His action was not radical enough, or it was too radical. He's too concerned with the virus and not enough with the economy, or the reverse. Give me a general sense of how your fellow Heartlanders, as you can describe it, view the job that Trump is doing in this unprecedented crisis, which, after all, has transformed his entire presidency.
For the most part, they watched. The Heartlanders watched as it sort of started to slowly become more newsworthy, ramp up from the, we're not going to worry about it. It's not like as virulent as the flu has been. It's just not this kind of bug, to where he is now doing daily briefings and he's on it. I mean, maybe he started a little late. Maybe he wasn't, screaming pandemic to scare the nation. But he's on it now, and he delivers a message every day, and people are stepping up. His approval ratings are the highest they've ever been, and that's job ratings, not just, pandemic ratings. So I think most of the people in this country, including the governors of the big states on either coast, are grateful that he is where he's at with this and is taking the right steps and is moving forward instead of backward. The ridiculousness of that stimulus package, the pandering back and forth, that should have been done a lot quicker. And I think, with what the Democrats were asking on the second go around, they should have just said, okay, fine, it's a drop in the bucket. Let's get the economy rolling. Let's make sure that once this is over, we're not going to be, buried.
Now let's close with a purely political question. In all this, in this crisis, Trump can say he saved us from a worse fate, no matter what the fate is. But it'll be easy for Democrats to claim that Trump failed and they could have done better, no matter what the outcome is. Neither side can prove their point, but the Democrats can form a great theoretical argument on the issue. So as of today, late March 2020, do you think this crisis will be just about the only issue in the upcoming election?
If it gets over with sooner than later, I think it will be the recovery of the economy and not how the crisis was handled. If the crisis continues and we just delay getting back to normal, that's going to be their argument. The good news is Joe Biden can't string together 3 words and make a sentence, let alone talk about this in any kind of authority. So they're going to have to circle the wagons and find some people that are going to be their spokespeople to nail Trump with this.
Is there much interest or any interest in what Joe Biden has to say about all this? And have you noticed much, if any, reaction to what he has said? Mostly, of course, harshly critical of the president.
Interestingly enough, he was doing a live virtual town hall, and a reporter mentioned the Gallup poll with Trump's 49% approval rating, and Mr. Biden said, but that's just on the pandemic alone. And she corrected him and said, no, that's overall job rating for this president at this point in time. And, he didn't know, he stumbled. He didn't know what to do about that. And he said, well, then it should be high. We're in the middle of something we don't know anything about. And people on the internet, especially in our little flyover country, they are horribly pissed off at the DNC for allowing this man to be using this man who obviously is having struggles with something going on. Dementia is what most people are assuming, and they are not happy that the poor guy is just being, brought out to, to be the whipping boy.
On that note, Ms. Cowgill, you stay safe and keep everyone around you safe as you're on lockdown now in the Heartland. We'll be back in touch shortly. Thanks for joining us.
It was my pleasure, Tim. See you soon.